At this time, the crowd of onlookers quickly gave up a passage. Two beautiful women, Doris and Warnia, walking side by side from outside, wearing very decent formal attire and smiling. Behind them, Solomon White took Gerald and Fred White, Chin Gang took Aushway and Stephen, Tianchi took Jovia, and walked in. And Mr. Orville followed all of them. Wendy looked at this scene with a face full of disbelief. Among these people, no matter which one is, it is rare to see big people. Unexpectedly, she would gather here to celebrate Claire, which really made her feel extremely uncomfortable. Before that, she also had her own pride. She was also a young lady, the rich lady, and one of the most outstanding young people in Orus Hill City. She has an outstanding appearance and good figure, and she is also a proper goddess in the upper class of Orus Hill. She has been competing with her cousin everywhere for so many years. She thought that she had found a good husband and could crush her cousin in all aspects, but now, everything she has is compared to Claire. Her current self is actually different from her. Claire, what kind of tea luck did you have? Wendy looked at Claire with undisguised jealousy. Claire ignored her, because she herself was in a daze at this time. She couldn't help looking at Charlie, and asked in a low voice, "You invited these people?" Charlie nodded, and said, "These people, I have shown them feng shui and pointed out their fortunes. It can be regarded as a little friendship." Claire feels her head is huge. She has told Charlie many times, "Don't make that kind of thing to deceive people." He didn't listen. On the contrary, he deceived more and more, and he was a little man who couldn't afford to offend. Wouldn't it be bad luck if it was discovered one day? She wanted to persuade Charlie, but before she could speak, Doris and Warnia had already walked to the front. Warnia spoke first. She glanced at Claire unobtrusively, then smiled, stretched out her hand and said, "Congratulations to Madame Wade's company for opening. If the Song family has design needs in the future, we'll ask for your help." Obviously she was here to deliver the business, and he said that she would ask her for help. The Wilson family was simply dumbfounded. How can Claire make Miss Song so humble? Claire stretched out her hand nervously, shook Warnia's, and said flattered, "Thank you, Miss Song." While talking, Warnia was looking at her, and she was also looking at Warnia. Warnia was almost the same as Claire in appearance and figure, but the noble temperament that Warnia was born with was incomparable to Claire. Thinking of this, Claire couldn't help feeling a little inferior. Warnia said at this time, "Mrs. Wade, you are Mr. Wade's wife, and you are the benefactor of Warnia, so you and I must not be polite." Sure enough, I came here looking at Charlie's face. Hearing this, Claire couldn't help but glance at Charlie, who was greeted by others, feeling a little jealous in his heart. My husband, who could make Miss Song family attach so much importance, he really became more and more invisible. Afterward, Doris also came forward, shook hands with Claire, and smiled. "Mrs. Wade, congratulations on your successful business. Our M Grand Group has several projects and we are waiting to cooperate with you." "Really?" Claire was shocked. At the beginning, the Wilson family was able to get the M Grand Group's 60 million contracts, which was enough to make the whole family excited. If she could get the M Grand Group's 6 million contracts, she would be very popular. Doris smiled slightly at this time and said, "Of course it is true, Mrs. Wade. We now have a total of almost 300 million in renovation projects. If Mrs. Wade can afford it, then we will assign it to you." The Wilson family next to them are almost jealous. A $3 billion renovation project? All to Claire? The M Grand Group was squeezed by the door, right? A company like theirs, come to kneel and lick a little Claire? In these 300 million projects, even if it can give the Wilson family 30 million, it is enough for the Wilson family to stand up. The old Mrs. Wilson felt extremely uncomfortable. She knew that Claire had such great ability. Even if she kneeled down for her, she would stay in Wilson's house. At this point in her mind, she secretly swears in her heart, "I have to get Claire back for anything this time. Get the M Grand Group's project back." At this moment, Solomon White also brought his son Fred and nephew Gerald up. As soon as Solomon White arrived, he respectfully clasped his fists and said, "Mrs. Wade, we also wish you a good business and good fortune. In addition, if the White Group has any decoration business in the future, it will be given to you." Claire was flattered and hurriedly said, "Thank you, Mr. White." Gerald and Fred White also stepped forward, bowing deeply and respectfully saying, "Mrs. Wade, congratulations on your opening." The two of them were already honest and submissive, and the liver trembled when they heard Charlie's name. In addition, the family was now blessed by Charlie, so they really felt sincere about Claire. Respect. At this time, Wendy, who was not far away, had an extremely tangled expression as she watched the White family approach. She saw Gerald, whom she had always loved so much, and felt bitter and unbearable. Originally, she should have been married to him, become his wife, and White's daughter-in-law. However, now, he is even stranger to her. Not only has he blocked all her contact information, but he doesn't even bother to look at her. What made her even more unacceptable was that even Gerald, whom she loved so much, had to bow his head and respectfully talk to Claire. In such a comparison, she was simply thrown into outer space by Claire.